Welcome to episode 204 of Empty the Bench on the Empty the Bench Podcast Network. Tom Albano, Nick Morgasen. Follow us on social media at ETB Sports, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Follow us on the Empty the Bench Podcast Network at ETB Network, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Follow us on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/ETB Network. 580 plus subscribers and growing. Make sure you follow our website, etbpodcast.com. For all the latest in sports and entertainment and gambling and other perspectives or comments, make sure you go check out our articles there. And if you want to take us on the road, you don't want to watch the video, make sure you go check out our podcast on your favorite audio platform as well. Whew. Okay.
All right. First of all, as I usually do, the X. Lot to get into. So, obviously, we're in the heat of the baseball playoffs. We're not going to really do too much playoff talk. It's more going to be about a certain general manager here in New York that we're going to talk about. Surprisingly, not our own, even though Hal Steinbrenner made some interesting comments yesterday about all the planned changes. We'll see how that actually goes down. A lot of football to talk about. Big injuries. Big injuries. Anthony Richardson, Justin Jefferson, the number one pick in most fantasy leagues, Justin Jefferson, now going to be out at least 4 games. Anthony Richardson potentially even longer, which is going to be devastating for the Colts. Although they did get a benefit earlier this week, which we talked about during our live stream for the Bills Jaguars London game. JT is somehow back. 3 years, $42 million. We'll talk about that. Chase Claypool, after all the drama in Chicago, he's somehow now in Miami. He actually upgraded.
Yeah, I'm not surprised.
Dick Butkus, speaking of Chicago, Butkus, late great now, passing away, age 80. George Kittle is in the news, getting they're potentially talking about, at least potentially as of the time we're recording this, a fine for a shirt that he wore underneath his jersey during the 49ers Cowboys game. Yeah, there's Roger Goodell. You see him who's here, all the money. And then there's probably going to be another certain owner crying about it on this show, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, really. And by the way, Roger Goodell might have a new deal coming soon as the commissioner again.
Is he going to ask for a private jet again? Like he did in 17
I don't know.
or whatever that was.
Nope, he's just going to tell us to.
RELAX.
Thanks, Mr. Johnson and Johnson.
We don't even have time to get to that this week.
Yeah, well, we're not going to talk about Mr. Johnson or Mr. Pfizer, but we will talk about Mr. Pfizer's girlfriend, Taylor Swift. Yes, it's more Kelsey and Tay-Tay talk on this show, unfortunately. Because we got to talk about this Taylor Swift movie that networks have been asked to run for free.
Well,
and
the
then,
promos.
Course,
yeah.
The promos, yes. And then we got the Thursday Night Football to talk about. And then, unfortunately, we do have one basketball story, and it's everybody's favorite man, James Harden. Fat in terms of physique, fat in terms of how he plays. And apparently, as much as he's back with these Sixers and he's at the training camp like we talked about last week, the Clippers are, how do we put this? The Clippers are being very pursuant, and they are being very, what's the word? When you're annoying somebody over and over again looking for an answer.
Well, I'll tell you what I think it is.
Persistent.
Oh, I was going to say.
Emotional damage!
They won Harden in the worst way, I guess. I don't know why you would, but they do.
Who wants James Harden? No one wants James Harden. The Sixers don't want James Harden. Actually, that's not true. He's technically under contract.
No, nobody wants James Harden. Not even James Harden wants James Harden.
His own family doesn't want James Harden.
Oh. All right. Let's start with the baseball. Let's talk about one Billy Eppler. He is no longer the Mets general manager. Now, originally when we heard this story, Nick, the assumption was, okay, new regime comes in, new president of baseball operations comes in, that this is probably some sort of normal, at least, change that's going on. They're telling him, hey, we're having a change of direction, and we're going to, and the original thought in my head was, okay, they're asking him to resign. They're kind of, pushing him. Well, apparently he is being pushed. He's being pushed by Major League Baseball under the spotlight, under investigation for what is being called improper use of the injured list.
That's a thing?
That's a thing. Yes, that's a thing.
Wait a
You
minute.
didn't know about this?
No, I'm being ironic.
I know.
But this whole story is insane. Billy Eppler, first of all, was not a good general manager to begin with, who was already dealing with Verlander and Scherzer, basically telling them that we're not competing until like 2025 or 2026. Anyway, we were going to throw away the next couple of seasons. Then we find out all this other issues that he can't run the team properly. Now they bring in David Starnes from Milwaukee running the Brewers. So now he's a level ahead of Eppler. And I kept saying to myself when Starnes was brought in, I was like, there's no way Eppler's going to last. Do you think Eppler's going to listen to someone ahead of him?
No, but now this whole story here. So if you missed it, I'll read Jeff Passan's reporting for ESPN. New York Mets general manager Billy Eppler resigned Thursday amid a MLB investigation into his use of the so-called phantom injured list, sources told ESPN. Here's my favorite part of this story already, Nick. The practice of placing players on the IL with fake injuries is a long accepted but ethically murky part of baseball, according to sources. Teams will ask players, often struggling and on the fringe of a roster, to accept an IL placement even when capable of playing, sources said. The player gains the benefit of service time, a major league salary, and retaining a spot on the team's 40-man roster, while the team retains the player amid a potential 26-man roster crunch. He got to the second paragraph, and he said the quiet part out loud.
Well, here's the, I don't know if you want to call it funny part or weird part or whatever you want to call it. I think it's kind of funny, but you realize, was it Vogelsong? Or not Vogelsong, what is the guy's name? Is that the guy's name? Vogelback, or as Frank the Tank says, Vogelfat. But
wait, did you say fat?
Fat.
He's fat!
Thank you, Scott.
Yeah. But yeah, so if you remember, they put him on the IL, and the report came out that supposedly it was due to mental health struggles.
Well, Nick, you know what I think when I think of the phantom injured list in terms of our fandom? I'll give you 2 words. Jacoby Ellsbury.
I've heard that name in God knows how long.
I know, but my family, friends, and I all have an expression that basically when Jacoby Ellsbury, like, remember how he was always trying to get back, but he kept going out to the island? So that we said that he was sent off to the island, basically, and he was basically in, I don't know, Siberia or something. Where
What about Aaron Hicks?
Well, Aaron Hicks at one point, yes, but eventually he ends up getting released. But it looked like it was going to happen with Josh Donaldson, too, this year. And
Josh Donaldson's a bust.
Well, remember Donaldson said, I'm looking to come back in September because he doesn't want to retire. He wants to look for another roster spot. And the Yankees were like, yeah, no, we have another direction. So bye-bye.
Yeah, he was never coming back to the Yankees.
My point here, Nick, is we have seen this before, not just with the New York teams. Passan said it. This is a common practice that's often accepted, although it's supposed to be very hush hush, but everyone seems to know about it. My question here is Major League Baseball where's my banner here whenever I need it? There you go, good old Rob Manfred. Is he in Major League Baseball using Billy Eppler? Like, is this going to be setting an example or sort of a crackdown into that so-called phantom IL people?
See, I think this is wrong because the issue you're running into now is, so you exposed Billy Eppler as the Mets GM, saying that he was using this as a phantom injured list.
Yeah.
Excuse me. That I'm so choked up over this. That you're going to call him. You got to call everybody else out now. You can't just call him out. You can make an example of him if you want, but now you got to go call every other GM, every other person, executive who's done this. You got to call them out.
Which means basically we're going to be left with no general managers in baseball.
Yeah.
Come on. this is like one of those things that it talks about widely accepted that everybody has done this at some point.
Agreed. And the issue, they got to figure this out. If he legitimately did this, then he should be either suspended or banned from baseball. If he was illegitimately using the IL list to his gain, that's the biggest issue you're going to have here.
That's my thing. Like, are they going to impose, even though he has resigned, are they going to impose some sort of punishment, like a suspension or something, as a means to say, and if we catch any of you doing anything like this, this is what's going to happen, if not worse.
I think this was a forced resignation. I think this was. I don't think he, like they're saying. Oh, he resigned. I don't think he chose to resign.
I said I did the push motion.
No, but I'm just saying it's like I'm literally putting it out there that I think they.
Oh, do you think he was pushed? Do you think he was pushed out because of the change in the baseball operation, the new baseball operations president, or because the Mets found out about MLB investigation, or was it both?
I think it was a little bit of everything. I think that eventually what happened was Major League Baseball went to the Mets and just said, "Here's the deal. Just say you're resigning, and we'll try to." But here's the problem: they say that they're going to say, "Oh, well, he can resign. We'll make sure it doesn't get out." What's wrong with today's form of news today? Yeah. So when we have phones like this, what happens to news? It gets exposed.
Spread very, very quickly. And
I guarantee you. Oh, good. Good.
It did not take long after the resignation that the MLB investigation story came out.
But I guarantee you that was probably the deal that they made. Just resign. Just say you're resigning, and we'll make it go away. Well, it didn't go away. And now Billy Eppler is under fire. Plus, he is probably not going to work in baseball again.
Well, my question is again: is this going to be now the next big baseball controversy? Along, over the last few years, we've had the debate about the steroid players getting into the Hall of Fame, the juicing of the baseballs, the new rules with the Manfred Man, and is this going to be this phantom injury list? Is phantom IL list placements? Is this going to be the next big baseball controversy?
I think this is a bigger problem than all those other issues because you're claiming that people are hurt or they're unhealthy.
Basically fraud.
It's not basically fraud. It is fraud. If you're lying that someone has an injury and they legitimately don't have an injury, now the one classification that we don't know the answer to is mental health considered an injury for the IL? That we don't know.
Oh, or is it? I'm guessing where you go with it. Is it IL or is it? I don't know if we would say restricted list, but some sort of.
There is a mental health list. I don't know exactly what it's called, but what I do know is I don't know if you classify mental health as being on the injured list. So that's what I don't. That's the murky part, as you were saying before.
I mean, I would classify it as some sort of IL designation, but I don't know about putting somebody on because of how the seriousness of mental health and the complexity of mental health. I don't know if that's necessarily something you can go 10 or 15 or 60 days on. I feel like mental health IL has to be its own kind of class. Yeah, like it follows the rules of the traditional IL, but it's an unlimited period. I mean, technically, like even though it's a 60-day IL, it's just a minimum. Like it's just a minimum. It could be longer than 60 days. I feel like though with something like a mental health IL, like you're trying to picture, it might be something like there is no minimum or maximum just because of how much, like how sucky the brain is basically.
Right, and that's the problem. So until we know that exact designation, it's kind of hard to say if someone has mental health issues. I think it should just be designated as you have mental health issues you got to go deal with.
Well, isn't there my brain just started clicking. Isn't it something like a personal leave kind of placement?
Oh, you're talking about like when they do maternity and paternity leave type stuff.
Well, that's maternity and paternity leave, mental health and well-being. I'm trying to like do some research right now on the.
Oh wait, I think I just saw something called. I think they have an MLB mental health injured list. Is what I just saw. Yes. Okay. 3 players have gone.
So players can go on the IL for mental health, basically.
I just don't know how they would classify that is. Well, first of all, you're lying about it one way or the other. If that's not what they're doing, so there's a big gray area when it comes to what Eppler was doing because there was what you're saying according to reports is that he was lying about some of it.
Well, here's what's interesting. I'm just like looking up stories right now, and Jorge Lopez of the Twins was actually placed earlier this year on the IL as a result of mental health. This was back in June, and he was the 4th player. So think about this. Mid-June, the season would have been only about less than 3 months old, and 4 players were already on the IL for mental health, which sparks some sort of question about how the mental health designation is being used. And if there is a big mental health issue when it comes to baseball, then that's something that also is going to need to be addressed by one Rob Manfred and company.
Yes, which I don't think Rob really cares, to be quite honest. I think Rob only cares about what the bottom line looks like. Gee, sound familiar to other sports, right? I mean, he doesn't care about what the players do. He doesn't care about the health of the players. He just cares about the money.
Oh, I wasn't ready for that. Shoot.
I was. You mean that?
Yes.
He doesn't care about the players' mental health and well-being. If he did, then we wouldn't have as many issues as we did in the sport.
I guess my thought going into this, I mean, leading out of this and just going into the aftermath of all this is going to be, is this some sort of statement? Is this going to be the next big MLB crackdown? And like you said, the idea of mental health being used on the IL. Is it better to maybe create its own mental health injured list? I mean, the fact that we're talking about the phantom IL, I mean, Nick, it just goes along with, because I forgot to bring this point up, it goes along with service time manipulation, in which it's ethically frowned upon, but it happens. We've seen our hometown teams and the Yankees and Mets do it. Last season, I think it was last season or 2 seasons ago, we had a whole controversy about the Seattle Mariners about them doing it.
Well, that was with oh god, what's his name? The All-Star who just signed the large contract.
J-Rod?
J-Rod. And we can say the same thing about Pete Alonso. But yeah, with Pete Alonso and his service time being changed, or Jacob deGrom, who didn't come up until what, 33, 34? I mean, service time is constantly being manipulated, but I don't think that's the real issue here. The real issue here is being under investigation for improper use of the injured list, which I feel like the way the rules have been changed over the years, it used to be the DL, now it's the IL, and now there's all these rules and stipulations, and now you have COVID IL, and you have whatever 7-day IL.
My point is, like I said, I wonder if this is going to be the beginning of the end of those phantom IL placements, or if this is just MLB and Rob Manfred saying, oh, look, we're in control of everything.
Yeah, the first thing is Rob Manfred would have to be in control of everything.
That's my point.
Yes, I was calling out that ironically on purpose. But
okay.
Major League Baseball, again, we've said this many times, and this is why Major League Baseball doesn't get a lot of attention anymore as one of the top sports it used to be, because Major League Baseball is not run properly at all.
Hold on. Let me get it up one more time.
Well, you'd have to say good old Rob Manfred, but Rob thinks it's MLB's fault because
it's negative. Oh, it's negative. It's negative. That means it's MLB. It's
negative. And here's the sucky part of this whole thing. The MLB playoffs have actually not been bad. Like,
no, MLB playoffs have been pretty good. I mean, minus the fact that we've had a couple of sweeps. The whole first round ended in 2-0 sweeps instead of going to a game 3. The Rangers, my God, the beating they gave the Orioles. That's a really, on one end, I want to say lack of experience because the Orioles are a really young team. Some of those Ranger players have been to the postseason. On the other hand, it kind of sucks. You win 100+ games and then your season ends in the division series, like being swept in the division series at that.
I mean, I don't know. The Orioles fans are going to say, "Oh, we had a great season." It's a disappointment. You got to win one game. You got to win at least one game. You can't get swept.
Well, as of the time we're recording, the Dodgers and Diamondbacks haven't taken the first pitch for Game 3, but that series is already looking pretty much like it's over. That the Diamondbacks, even if they lose on the game on the day we're recording this, they're probably going to win Game 4. This one's it's one-sided in their favor. The Phillies put on another beating of the Braves yesterday. The Phillies are now one game away from pulling off an upset of the Braves, who were a top. I don't know if they were 1 or 2 last year, I forget, but a top NL seed again. And for a second year in a row, it's looking like we're going to have 2 wild card teams playing in the NLCS.
The Braves are kind of turning into the Sixers in the NBA a little bit, where they win, but they don't get to the promised land all the time when they really should be getting there more often. I mean, are we really going to see Diamondbacks Phillies?
Yeah. And we're going to see an all, and if everything's looking how it's going to be, we're also going to see an all Texas ALCS.
That one I'm kind of excited for. I think that one's going to be a good series.
I know, but I'm just getting a bad feeling with how everything's playing now. Houston's going to take it again.
We'll see. I mean, if it's Philly, Arizona's going to get hosed big time. They're going to get hosed. So it doesn't good for Arizona. Like they got to the NLDS, but they're going to get hosed by Philadelphia big time.
All right, let's move on. Let's talk some football. Jonathan Taylor, Nick. So after all the drama we had during the summer, after all the words that were shared, that JT was upset after leaving Jim Irsay's bus, after Jim Irsay said, if I die and Jonathan Taylor died tomorrow, we're not going to be remembered. Or, the world is just going to keep on spinning. Well, after all that talk, JT was looking like he was going to go all the way and sit everything out. He was going to pull the Le'Veon Bell. And in the end, they agreed to a 3-year, $42 million extension. So $14 million a year. I think, $26.5 million of that is guaranteed.
Guaranteed, yeah.
He's the 3rd highest paid running back in the NFL. I think it's Christian McCaffrey and Alvin Kamara who are ahead of him.
That's correct. Yep.
So here's my thing. On one hand, this is great for the Colts. This is great for them because when we're going to talk about another reason why it's great for the Colts, but JT was their best player. They needed somebody. Even though it was Zach Moss who was getting all of the scoring attention last week, JT is still the best player, and I guess him and Zach Moss are a solid 1-2 combination for Indianapolis's running game. On the other hand, Nick, I know everyone is laughing at Jim Irsay, and I kind of want to join in that, but I think the better term I would use, considering that it looked like JT, as I said, was going to pull the Le'Veon Bell and sit out all year, and then the threats of, placing him on the certain, was it the PUP list that he was on?
Well, physically unable to perform. He was already on that list.
Right. What I was saying, and then they were going to look to maybe, hold his money or tag him again or something. And yet, I think the word that I'm coming to mind, Nick, is anticlimactic. Like both sides talked their big game, and then, oh look, they agreed to a deal anyways. Now, granted that JT didn't get a lot of money. Now, he is the 3rd highest paid running back in this league, which deservedly so. But, again, points to how the running back market's depressed.
Right. And the way I look at this, there's a couple of different sounds I could really play for this here. Well, one is because, yes, he got paid. 2, I would say.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
For Jim Irsay. For Irsay. Yeah. And then the third and final one I would play is...
Why the fuck you lying? Why you always lying? Oh my God. Stop you fucking lying.
Now, you're probably wondering why I hit that sound effect for the third, because Jim Irsay's a liar, a big fat liar, because
Or as they say in that one Family Guy episode, "Hey everybody, he's a big phony. He's a big fat phony."
yes, because Jim Irsay said, like you just said, well, he's never coming back here. I'll find any essentially 2-bit running back to put in the place of Jonathan Taylor. He says, really? Then why didn't you let him sit out all season, Jim? Jim, why'd you let him come back? Why'd you pay him? Go ahead, Jim. I'm waiting. I'm waiting for a response. That's right. You don't have a response.
No. What's gonna happen is he's gonna try and say something, and then you're gonna take the microphone back. And you're gonna tell him
shut the fuck up.
Seriously, because if you thought that he was not good enough and you were going to let him sit all, why'd you sign him? Why'd you sign him? Why'd you make him the third highest paid running back in the game? If you said I could replace him with anybody out there. Gee, not so easy being the owner of an NFL franchise, is it?
Like we were talking about, when Dan Snyder moved his way out of the NFL, I think Jim Irsay took the torch of worst owner in this league.
It's close. Him and Jerry Jones.
Jerry Jones. Would you put your own owners in there?
Yeah. Woody Johnson will always be in the bottom 3 owners as being the worst. Always.
Do we put the Maras and Tish in there?
Maybe. At least the Maras actually won something as opposed to the Jets.
That's true. We did the 2007 and 2011. We can hang on to for now.
Yeah. When's the last time the Jets won a Super Bowl? Oh wait, Super Bowl 1? Yeah.
3.
Super Bowl 1, 3, whatever.
3.
Doesn't matter. It's a long time ago.
All right.
Wait a minute. I have to say one more thing. And then I have to listen to assholes like Mike Greenberg on Get Up tell me that he's coming back at week 13. Go ahead, Greenberg. Go ahead. Tell me that Aaron Rodgers is going to come back at week 13.
Oh, I was going to say, by him, you mean
X.
Him.
I think Greeny is the most delusional person on television, to be quite honest. I love how they said on Get Up that he thinks that the Jets are going to be the most competitive team to the Chiefs in the AFC.
I mean, they were competitive and they played very well against the Chiefs in that one game. My only problem with that comment is there is another team. Well, there's technically 2 teams that are ahead of them, but there is one Miami team that just put a spanking on the Giants and their offense has been absolutely out of this world. I think they would have something to say about that.
There is so many other teams. Dolphins, Bills. I mean, so many other teams I would take before the Jets. Hey, Greeny, keep your Jets fandom card away from TV. It looks bad. I'm just telling you that now. It's like the worst known secret in journalism or media. Now that they used to say that, like, being a fan, you're not supposed to show it on TV.
Now we know everybody's favorite teams.
Yeah, and that's horrible because now you know like where the bias stands.
Well, maybe there'll be a Jets themed something later that might put a smile to your face. But let's talk about the other reason why that JT signing is kind of important, because Anthony Richardson, their young rookie quarterback, has a shoulder injury, and on a related note, Vikings wide receiver Justin Jefferson, who was projected to be our offensive player of the year for most of us in our preview predictions, and the consensus number 1 pick in fantasy football this year, has a hamstring injury. Both are now on IR, both out at least 4 games, and Richardson, they said, could be even 8 games at this point.
Yeah, this is bad news. I feel like this past couple weeks has been a little bit of... That's what the last couple of weeks have been. A lot of big names going on IL or being out, or the Anthony Richardson injury is not a surprise. This guy cannot stop taking hits. It's really bad. And I can refer to another quarterback that you know all too well that can't stop taking hits in the pocket either.
Oh,
Um,
as the Counting Crows sing, Mr. Jones and me.
yes.
Which, by the way, on about that point, it's like 17 or 18 sacks you let up, that no offensive line lets up in a span of 2 weeks, unacceptable.
Yeah, we'll get to that in a minute. But Anthony Richardson, too many hits. And on top of that, what's the theme with why quarterbacks are getting hurt? Because they're trying to run too much. That's the
Want to throw
problem.
that to Lamar Jackson?
Lamar Jackson. Here's the weird thing. When you look at guys like, I'll use the example now with Daniel Jones, the reason he's getting hurt, he's playing old-fashioned football where he's stepping up into the pile driver as opposed to going and letting the pocket collapse and going out of it.
Well, in Daniel's case, I know we're talking about Richardson, Jefferson, but just in Daniel's case, can you say it's his offensive line not giving him enough time to move?
I'm not disagreeing. Like, the offensive line is bad. But at the same time, if you noticed in that game, he kept stepping up into the pile as opposed to going away from it. As soon as the pocket collapses, you have to get out of there. Why do you think they keep praising that Daniel Jones's feet are some of the best in the game?
I guess the logic is he's trying to not lose too many yards rather than running away and getting sacked and losing all that yardage.
But I'm saying is sometimes you have to let the pocket collapse and you have to run out of there. Like, you can't just stand up into the pocket. You're going to get hurt. And he did get hurt.
Yeah, he did get hurt. Tyrod Taylor almost went down during that game, too. We were fearing that we were going to have to use our emergency third string.
But the Anthony Richardson situation is bad. The Colts have a problem. He's been knocked out every game so far, I think, up until this point where now he's going to miss 4 games.
And now guess what? Get your mustaches out. The Gardner Minshew era is back.
Oh, no, it's Minshew Mania.
Minshew Mania's running wild, brother.
Oh, God. But you know what? The Colts have a massive problem on their hands. They're basically going to have to tell him, hey, stop it. Like, stop running. You're going to get hurt, and we're not going to have you.
Just hand the ball off to JT.
Yeah, either hand the ball off, or unless you're in a panic situation, that's the only time you run out of the pocket. But he's a mobile quarterback. That's today's game. They don't make them the way they used to, where it was throw first, run second. Now you have to be mobile. It's almost like being a running back and a quarterback in one. And then just look at the other situation with Justin Jefferson. Again, with the freak misstep. Again. The first time he got hurt, they thought he was going to be out. This time, he actually hurt himself.
And now he's actually out. I know. It's kind of scary.
I mean, their season is over. It's over.
Pretty much.
I mean, it already was pretty much over, but now it's over. They have no weapons.
You're not going to recover from that. But, Nick, in my personal opinion, when Justin Jefferson got placed on IR, one of the first things I said is the Lions just won the NFC North.
Oh, I agree with you 1,000%. The Lions, I still think the Lions were better than them anyway, but that just gave them a push that they did not need to win that division. Now
which they're gonna have a lot of questions now with Kirk Cousins' contract expiring, and where they go from here in terms of running back, trying to improve the defense, because honestly, for as much as you guys like to make fun of Kirk, Johnny, with the Kirk Cousins checklist every time the Vikings play a primetime game, this season was not his fault. If you look statistically, over the last couple of seasons, he statistically has been one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. The defense, the Vikings just a few years ago, like when they had that NFC Championship run back in, I think it was the 17th season, the 18th postseason, when the Eagles beat the Patriots, that's that year. The defense was phenomenal. Yes, they had Stephon Diggs and others too, but the defense was phenomenal. They've lost some key defensive pieces over the last couple of years, and that's something that they're going to have to address. So, but now with Kirk Cousins basically being, his contract expiring, you got a question of, are you going to move him before? Because I think Halloween is the trade deadline.
It is Tuesday, 31st. Yeah.
Yeah. So you've got about 20 days to move him. Are you going to do it?
You got to move him. I mean, now with Jefferson on the IR, you got to move him.
There's a problem that you and I were talking, because you and I before the show, we were talking about different teams and scenarios to go to. But the problem is he has a full no trade clause.
which basically means he controls. He's going to either go to a playoff team or he's going nowhere. And
Right. But I don't know what playoff team is in need of a quarterback at this point, unless you're trading him to a team that needs a quarterback in order to make a run.
I mean, you're pretty much looking at fringe playoff teams at this point, like ones that are right off the beaten path. I wouldn't even consider the Jets a fringe team yet, because so far they have not. I don't know what their record is as the
They're
currently.
2-3. But here's the thing: you have the Broncos and the Patriots at the bottom of the AFC at 1-4. You have two division winners in the Chiefs and Dolphins, division leaders, I should say, at Chiefs and Dolphins that are 4-1. The Steelers and Jaguars are the other two division leaders. They're 3-2. Colts, Ravens, Bills are all the wild cards right now at 3-2. And then you have the Browns and Chargers, who would technically be the fringe right now at 2-2 each, because both of those teams were on a bye recently. Like they were two of the teams at the bye. But now what I was referring to, Nick, is Jets, Raiders, Bengals, Titans, Texans, all 2-3.
Who really don't need quarterbacks. I mean, like.
Right. But my point is that it's so tight right now. It's like we're not going to get a better image for another couple of weeks as to who is a real fringe team and who is just a pretender.
I mean, I threw one out there. I mean, I thought Seattle. I know, like you made a face at me because like Geno is playing good football, but Kirk Cousins would definitely be an upgrade there. Like,
I threw some options out. Obviously, we talked about the Jets, but Zach Wilson. As much as you may not like Zach Wilson, as much as I might not be his biggest fan, he last couple of weeks has been making a case for himself at the very least of staying there at least for the fourth year. I mean, it's going to be a guaranteed year next year anyway. You're going to be stuck with him one way or another, either him or his contract.
Yeah, he almost almost that game.
Well, fortunately, he was playing another Wilson. We'll get to.
Oh, that game was so bad.
Actually, he'll be a point of contention too when we talk about him and his team. I threw a crazy idea out there to you that you weren't sure, but we talk about Burrow not being healthy. But you know what? This past week, he looked good. The Bengals actually looked good for once. He and Chase connecting for 3 touchdowns. Maybe
who were they playing?
He is making progress.
Arizona, right?
I think they played Arizona. Yeah, and it was actually a competitive game.
But that again, that doesn't tell you much. You're playing Arizona. Arizona is the worst team in the NFL this year, even though Arizona's actually played some really competitive football, way more than I thought.
Yeah,
but I still this still proves nothing to me though.
So I'll throw the crazy one out there. As much as you don't like them because division rival, Pats are they getting desperate? Would Bill? I know Bill said Mac Jones is starting again, but would he pull the trigger soon out of desperation to not miss the playoffs again?
Well, first of all, the Pats are going nowhere this season. The Pats.
I agree with you. I don't think Kirk fixes anything because I don't like the weapons around there.
Well, their defense is a mess. Also, I mean, how many points did they give up the last 2 weeks? They gave up 38 to
78 or something like that.
So, like in the last 2 weeks alone, they got smoked by the Cowboys. Then they got smoked by the Saints?
Yeah.
How many points did they give up to the Saints?
1 sec. Let me check. Against the Saints, they gave up 34. It was a 34-0 shutout.
So it was 38-34. That means they gave up 72. 72 points in 2 weeks. And Bill Belichick keeps saying, we're not replacing him right now. He's the starter. All right, Bill. We all know what it is. You don't want to be told to do something. So you just make the call and just replace him.
Which is funny considering we've had some reports the last offseason or two that he and Mac Jones are not on eye to eye.
I don't think they are. Mac Jones is not starter material at all.
I think, as much as you trash Zach Wilson, I think Mac Jones is... He was good his first year, and now he's just even worse than Wilson.
I mean, Mac Jones just looks lost. Like you said, I know Zach Wilson's got his struggles. He did make some completions and some plays against Denver. Now, do that against a much better team, and let's see you win, and then we might have a different discussion.
Yeah.
I don't
All
know.
right. Let's get off of the injury talk. Let's talk about we talked about the trade deadline, so let's talk about a trade that happened. So Chase Claypool, after all the drama in Chicago, he heads off to Miami, and they had a late round pick swap. So here's the thing about him in Miami. Yes, he's definitely upgraded to a better program, to a better place, but he's like the wide receiver 5 over there.
Yeah,
Like he's not replacing Tyreek as the wide receiver 1. He's not replacing Jalen Waddle as the wide receiver 2. And they've got more receiving units. They have Devin Akane, but now Devin Akane's going on to the injured list, which is another brutal one, at least for the fantasy owners. But you know what? That first game where Akane broke out, Raheem Mostert still had a strong game, and as far as I know, he ain't on the injured list, so they'll just go to Mostert. This is what we talk about with Miami's offense. They have a number of weapons.
so many weapons. This almost is like an embarrassment of riches, as they would say, where like Chase Claypool kind of fills that fourth wide receiver option. Like if you want to run a weird play on a third down, or
Mm-hmm.
or you want to catch the defense off guard, maybe use Claypool. Claypool's got to first like prove himself and get back
Oh
on the
yeah.
field.
I mean, you have Chase Claypool. You got also as part of those receivers, Tyler Croft, who can catch as a tight end. You have Cedric Wilson, Braxton Berrios. Let's see who else. How did I forget? Good old Chosen or Robbie Chosen Anderson.
Who doesn't barely see the field anymore anyway. But
Right. But that's my point, is that Chase Claypool, I think, is barely going to see the field because he's not going to take away catches from a Tyreek or a Waddle.
hey, you know what? Maybe he'll win a ring out of it just by sitting on the bench.
Hey, well, that happened with didn't that happen with Le'Veon Bell? Didn't he go
I
to the
think
Chiefs?
so.
I
Yeah,
don't know.
I think you're right. But
Actually, I don't know if they won. I don't know if they won. No, because they were playing. That was the year they played the Bucks. We had Le'Veon Bell on the Chiefs, and they had Antonio Brown on the Bucks. It was Antonio Brown who got the ring.
oh, so he has no rings. I just looked it up.
No, I said that was the year the Chiefs played the Bucks and got embarrassed in the Super Bowl because the Bucks had Antonio Brown. AB has the ring, not Le'Veon.
Sounds about right. But I don't know. I mean, does this make them better? I don't know if it makes them better. It's just adding an embarrassment of riches.
I think it's low risk, high reward because if he proves to be another headache, what'd you do? You swapped 6 or 7 round picks with the Bears.
It was
Doesn't
pick
mean
swaps. I mean, essentially.
right.
So
I think this is a loss for the Bears, considering Nick they traded the 32nd pick in the draft to get Chase Claypool.
yeah, it is what it is.
Yeah. Moving on from that, another Chicago headline, a little more unfortunate. The legendary Hall of Fame NFL player Dick Butkus passing away at the age of 80. Probably one of the
Yeah.
most legendary careers that this game has ever seen. He had such an impact in his I think he played the 65 to 73, so a little less than a decade. Excellent defenseman. Just reading all some of his highlights: 2-time Defensive Player of the Year, 8-time Pro Bowler, a part of 2 different All-Decade and All Anniversary All-Time teams. His number 51 is retired. Let me have a look at. Oh, he's actually also an Illinois alumnus. He went to the University of Illinois, the alma mater of our very own Zambando, and his number is retired there. If you just want to have a look at some of his career numbers, well, this is embarrassing. The NFL website isn't working for me at the moment.
That sounds about right.
22 interceptions in his career, 27 fumble recoveries in his career. Let's see if I can get some more full numbers.
Let's see if I can find anything here.
But yeah, just reading off all of those accomplishments. I mean, between his college run, between his run with the NFL as a linebacker, his leadership, his play on the field, one of the most legendary players that Chicago team has ever had. 8 straight Pro Bowls, by the way. When I mentioned his Pro Bowls, they were straight years.
Right. I mean, the guy's a legend.
Okay, Actually, here's some of his statistical information. So, in the NFL record book, most opponent fumble recovered in his career, 25. Most total fumbles recovered in a season, 7. Only one was the Bears' own fumble. The other 6 were fumbles made by the other team, and those are also team records.
The guy's a legend. Everyone should have already changed the game for what he did. He won the George Halas Award in 1974, elected to the Pro Football Hall of Fame in first year of eligibility in 1979. He was also named to the NFL's All-Decade teams in the 1960s and 1970s as a member of the league's 75th and 100th anniversary all-time teams. The guy, and apparently Sports Illustrated called him the most feared man in the game.
I buy that. He really was. If I was an opponent of his, I probably would have been shaking in my shoes.
He's one of the best defenders to ever play the game. I mean,
Yeah, I mean those stats tell you. Those stats don't argue with that anyway.
it's a good point.
All right, moving on. Let's talk a little funnier kind of story. George Kittle. So George Kittle, 49ers put a beating on the Cowboys this past Sunday on Sunday Night Football for Week 5, and at one point George Kittle, who by the way got his first touchdown of the season. Actually, and he had a pretty big game, George Kittle. And at some point during the game, he lifts his shirt up, and his jersey shirt, and underneath his jersey, he's wearing another shirt. And the shirt basically says, F Dallas.
It was the funniest thing I ever saw. Like, and you know what? The NFL doesn't have a sense of humor at all,
No.
whatsoever.
Well, this is the same league that fined Tyreek Hill $100,000 because he gave the football to his mom.
Wait a minute. You ready for what the fine would be for George Kittle if he gets
Sure.
fined? $10,927.
I love how they have an exact number. Where do they get these exact numbers from?
But you realize that most of these guys can wipe their ass with that money?
Oh, yeah.
Like,
But still, it's kind of ridiculous. And this is why they say the no fun league is what it's called.
oh, Cowboys linebacker Micah Parsons on his podcast on Monday called out Kittle for wearing the T-shirt. Quote,
He said, just wait till the next game, which he assumes is going to be the NFC Championship, which, I'm sorry. You really think the Cowboys are going to get past the 49ers or the Eagles in a playoff game? Absolutely not.
There was a great clip that I put up on our YouTube channel as a YouTube short, and I can't remember who said it. But who said it?
Well, what did they say? What did they say? And I'll look it up.
It was the San Francisco 49ers after that game.
Oh, Dante Whitner. The
Dante Whitner
comment.
Yes, that was it. So Dante Whitner basically said he sucked after the game, and I was like, "Holy shit!" Like,
well, first of all, Mr. Morgasen, Whitner is right. Dak Prescott absolutely does suck. So you know what? Hey, Vikings, let's make a call. Let's see if we can get Kirk Cousins down here in Dallas and see if we can get the Cowboy to win a Super Bowl. And second of all, F you too, Mr. Kittle. We'll see when we do the rematch. You know, we can beat the 49ers, and we can beat those damn Eagles. We're gonna Super Bowl. How about them Cowboy?
oh my god, I didn't realize we had a Jerry Jones sighting today. I'm
always around, Mr. Morgasen.
But yeah, the NFL, they should not fine Kittle for the shirt. It's fun. It's out there. What do they say? It's the reputation of the NFL's on the line. Oh no!
No, it's I forget what movie it is. It's that there's a quote from some famous movie. Line up, Francis. Seriously, line up. It's all fun.
I don't know.
So they should, in other words, you're saying they should let George Kittle go off scot-free, like the price that they're asking for their networks to air promos for Taylor Swift's new movie. So
Oh.
basically, it is as it sounds that the NFL, according to several reports, I'm reading one here from Sports Illustrated, has asked broadcast partners to promote Taylor Swift's Eras Tour movie for free, asking NBC, ESPN, Fox, and CBS to all show promos. With the free advertising, basically. ESPN and NBC agreed. Fox and CBS did not. ESPN played but here's the thing with ESPN and NBC: they did not play them during the game. They played them on Sunday NFL Countdown, Monday NFL Countdown, and Football Night in America. They did not play them during the actual games.
Well, for most of the packaging, that's technically part of the games because a lot of times when they sell commercial packages,
I
they
guess
say
because
that
it's kind of a pre-show, yeah.
because technically, at least from a sales perspective, I don't know the whole answer, but a lot of times they say, "Well, hey, if you're going to take commercial spots on the pregame, you should take them during the game too."
Right.
So,
But I
that's
guess,
kinda
because I mean, she wasn't there in Minnesota, but she was there. She was there for the Jets game. She was there for the game before that. I guess at that point it was just, hey, we're gonna have so many sightings over here that we don't need the commercial because we'll just have our little silly puns like Travis Kelce finding a blank space in the end zone for a touchdown, or our own Johnny Montalbano saying, "Oh, Travis Kelce, he's gonna play this week and he's gonna shake off that injury."
the problem is this whole situation is causing bad blood between me and the NFL.
I know, and honestly,
That was a
the
song
way that-
reference, by the way.
I know. I'm ignoring it before I kick you out of here. But
But
but they played the Vikings this past weekend, and I had issues with it. I had issues with some of the calls there.
yeah, I
I'm trying to
mean,
see. Because there was a freaking pass interference call at the end of the game, then the Chiefs player went over to argue. So it was a non-call. There was a flag on the field that was picked up, basically. But when that happened, the Chiefs player, I forget which one it was, took off his helmet to argue with the refs, which is a flag in itself. And the refs just told him to put the helmet back on and didn't do. Look, between the ending of the Chiefs-Jets game and the fact that on the social media page after the Jets win, the Chiefs are 2-0. You know how I know it sounds ridiculous the NFL's and the refs are biased and they're trying to get the Chiefs. I know it sounds ridiculous, but when you're doing crap like that, this is what gets their blood boiling, gets people to make these kind of accusations.
I mean,
And you know what? It was funny.
Yeah.
It was funny at first, but now I'm coming over to your side. I'm starting to get a little sick of the Kelce Swift stuff.
it's getting really ridiculous, and it's also led to Aaron Rodgers going after Travis Kelce for COVID vaccines, and to have a debate about which one is better.
Oh yeah, Kelce and Fauci against Rodgers and RFK Jr.
Yeah, this was getting bad. Like when it starts taking on politics and political realm, and it's not about the game of football anymore, that's when it becomes an issue in my book. That if it's true that the NFL was basically giving Taylor Swift free commercials for a movie just because they're so desperate for attention that they apparently don't have, then it becomes an issue. The NFL doesn't need any more attention. The NFL is the NFL. They make $17 billion. Let me say that again. $17 billion. They don't need any more attention.
But
They don't.
we gotta get the Swifties. We need more people watching prime time. The Chiefs-Jets game was like the number 1 rated Sunday Night Football game, or one of the best of all time.
Yeah, because that's a real excuse. You're getting all these people who don't understand the freaking game of football watching a game, have no idea what's happening.
It's good to teach other people about the game.
But that's fine. But
That's
you're
fine,
getting
but like I said, it just gets ridiculous when it's kind of, because I don't want to sound like I'm making the accusation because we just talked about it's crazy, but it's just kind of funny. The Chiefs-Jets, Chiefs-Vikings games both end in controversy. You got this going on. The Kelce Rodgers. It's just kind of funny. how much they're bringing the Chiefs out there. And I get it. The Chiefs, Patrick Mahomes, they are one of the best teams in the league. They are arguably the top of the top in the AFC. So they're going to get all of the attention anyway. But it's a little much. It's getting to the point already where it's a little much with the Kelsey Swift stuff.
No, I totally agree. And like the announcers got to stop. They got to stop. Like Iron Eagle, who's I tell you a million times, my favorite broadcaster, got me into doing a lot of the play-by-play stuff I've done at school when I was at school.
Mhm.
Stop it. Just stop. For the love of God, stop. Please.
Well,
I beg you. I beg you to stop with the Taylor Swift references. Please. You know what?
Right.
You know what? If I have to pay the NFL to stop the references, I would do it. I would. It's so outdated and overjaded. Like, it's so ridiculous now.
The way you are talking about this, it reminds us, since we are in October, I'm thinking of the ending of Halloween 3, where the Silver Shamrock commercial is playing and the masks all explode, blowing the kids' brains out, and all the maggots go. And you have that one guy on the phone trying to get the commercial to stop. I beg you, stop the commercial. That's you right now.
It's so ridiculous. All right. I don't give a shit about the Taylor Swift Eras Tour film. Yes, Swifties are going to come after us. I don't give a shit. But it's a freaking concert. Why do I want to watch a movie about a freaking concert?
Well, but what about all the Kelsey Swift talk? You know, it's great talk for the pregame and everything, Nick. It's a love story.
Oh, you went there.
If you can make one, I'm allowed to make one.
This whole thing is just dumb. And you know what I have to say to the Swifties?
You suck.
Well, speaking of you suck, speaking of Mr. Pfizer, you know, we got to move on because we're going to talk another thing about the Kansas City Chiefs. But Nick, I did say that there was going to be a Jets related thing here. And you know what? I kind of have it right now. It's a little present for you. So I want you to just take a look right here.
Broncos country, ride.
What's Broncos country let's ride doing here? I thought that was supposed to be on Football Friday. Wait a minute. So I think that's a new chant now that you can do, Nick, for the Broncos. Broncos country, ride. Broncos country, ride.
I still have no faith in the Jets whatsoever.
Well, Nick, the reason Broncos country let's ride is here and not on Football Friday is because the Denver Broncos are on Thursday Night Football this week, which means they're now our responsibility. And look who they are playing. Oh, you know, Nick, I hate double-digit lines. You know, that's not one that I really do. You know, you and I are on the same page on that. I remember all the banter about, you know, how everybody, well, not us, but like most of the people on Football Friday took the Dolphins, the double-digit line as the lock of the week, which the Giants made a little more competitive, but the Dolphins held on. Actually, everybody hit their lock last week. But Nick, I'm just saying, it's really sad that Thursday Night Football is disqualified from us doing our locks for the Football Friday participants, because I would lock this game in at this point. Please, I'm not giving any analysis. Take the damn money and run, please.
I don't know if I would lock this one because I think there's some other games that have shorter lines that are more obvious.
I understand, but this is not a contest.
This is as obvious as it gets. Patrick Mahomes versus Russell Wilson against the Denver Broncos D. There's not much else.
I was going to say, it's not even Russell Wilson's fault as much as I like to make fun of him with the Broncos country let's ride. The defense is just aghast at this point.
All right, we're both taking the money. Next topic.
Okay, last topic. What the hell? So we have one basketball topic that we gotta do, and like I kind of said in the intro, I guess the LA Clippers are being very persistent. Hey, they want James Harden. They want Jay Harden.
He's fat! He's fat! He's fat!
Hold on. I will save you the trouble. Give me 1 second here.
Oh no, don't do that.
No, you started
He's
this.
fat! He's fat! He's fat! He's fat! He's fat! He's fat!
I mean, this story speaks for itself, really. I mean, Clippers trying to pursue Harden from the 76ers. From the 76ers, they're pretty much going to ask for a king's ransom. If I'm the Clippers, I basically say you have nobody left. And if you really want him off the team, you will take 0.3 of a dollar and call it a day. Now, if I'm the Clippers, I don't understand why you want him at all. You're already dealing with your own headache in Kawhi and Paul George. Why would you want to deal with a third headache? Someone answer this for me, because I don't know. Why would you want James Harden?
No idea whatsoever.
James Harden is such a joke. Like I feel like I've used
most overrated player in the NBA. I've said it 1,000 times.
and you and I have seen a lot of overrated players in our Knicks and Nets over the years. Kyrie Irving, KD. We've seen some pretty overrated players come through this town. But
yeah, it's
James Harden actually showed up to camp
looking fat.
looking.
He's fat!
I mean, that's never going to get old. I mean,
No. And part of that's just because it's Scott Steiner for me, and I love Scott Steiner, but it's not far from the truth.
but how do you? I can't justify. Usually, like you and I could find a way to justify people doing things. I literally can't justify this at all. I can't find a reason.
I mean, for the Sixers, because he's already under contract. For the Clippers, I guess because we need another star. We just need another star to go with Kawhi and with PG-13 and all that.
They don't play already, so you're going to add another guy who doesn't give a shit.
I was gonna say a Kawhi PG-13 James Harden big three might be one of the worst big threes I've ever seen.
It's
if not
all
the worst.
it's all ego, it's all injury, and it's all players who think about themselves. Great trio.
And it's all load management, even though the NBA is cracking down on that.
Yeah, and Kawhi came out and said that, your load management rule's not going to affect me. No.
Because I'm actually hurt.
Oh God. I can't wait for teams this coming season to figure out, I have to classify what a real injury and what is not a real injury. And like you're going to have to get a medical doctor to get a doctor's note to prove that you're hurt.
Oh my God. What? Like school, you got to get the doctor's note?
Or the sick note, or the doctor's note to say, I'm not here. I need the excused absence so I don't get a cut when I'm in school.
Yep. So, in other words, you know what Kawhi Leonard is going to get? This will be the last point for me. You know what Kawhi Leonard is going to turn into? He's going to turn into a certain SpongeBob character.
I thought you were going to say he was going to turn.
Fat!
Episode 204 of Empty the Bench. Fat.
Fat!
I want Scott Steiner to make a cameo for us now where he just says the word fat over and over again.
Just get him to say James Harden is fat. That would make my day. Well, that just about does it for episode 204 of Empty the Bench on the Empty the Bench Podcast Network. Make sure you follow us on social media at ETB Sports, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Make sure you follow us on the Empty the Bench Podcast Network at ETB Network, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Make sure you like and subscribe to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/ETB Network. What else am I missing? ETBpodcast.com for all our blogs and info and other stuff coming along the way. All I'll say is we're working on a sneaky project. That's all I can say at this point in time.
Sneaky project.
which we'll be able to unveil in a couple weeks. So
Hush, hush.
don't you worry. Hush, hush. This
Not
is
here. Not here. Tune into Football Friday.
Yeah, well, when it happens in about a couple weeks. We're working on something interesting. So just make sure you tune into that as well. Audio platforms as well. Choose your favorite audio platform. Our podcast is up there. That's better. That's basically the way to put it. But
So, I think
that
that's
just about
it.
does it. Yeah, it just about does it. For Tom Albano, I'm Nick Morgasen. Good night, everybody. We'll see you next week for episode 205.
Night, everyone.